Before I master my emotional intelligence, a rude comment, disrespectful tone, or even a cutoff in traffic will make me go from 0 to 100. I was driving out of my neighborhood recently onto the main road, and someone was behind me honking his horn so that I could drive out into the traffic. But I know it wasn't safe for me to drive out. And immediately I was like, who he think he's honking his horn at? And I put my hand to honk my horn back at him, and I stopped midair. I was aware of how I was starting to feel emotionally, and I remembered what Michelle Obama said, my favorite quote: when they go low, you go high. I say, Carla, just focus on when it's safe to drive out into the traffic and don't get caught up with that driver behind you. And I am realizing many people can't manage their emotions. My story with this guy is not unique to me. There are so many people with road rage, and a simple lapse in judgment on the road could result in real difficult or dangerous confrontations. Also, there's also a rise in workplace blowouts. Just recently, we had a supervisor that was unalived by an employee. You're hearing more and more about domestic disputes, and I believe one thing that all of these people have in common is low emotional intelligence. So, in this video, I want to share with you what my journey was like. So, where I control my emotions to the extent that I now feel that I have mastered my emotional intelligence. At the end of this video, I would like you to also transform your life by mastering your emotional intelligence. So I am following this guru, Dr. Coleman, and he says that emotional intelligence is built on 4 pillars. The first one is self-awareness, then we have self-regulation, relationship management, and social awareness. So let us go to the self-awareness. Remember in that incident with me, I told you I was about to honk the horn, but then I realized inside of me, the way I started to feel that emotion of anger and frustration, I decided, look, don't let that come out. All right, because if it come out, it could be ugly, right? So contain yourself. So I was able to be aware of how I was feeling, and now the next step is to how do I regulate those emotions. So that's the pillar number 2, your self-regulation or your emotional regulation. And sometimes, to be honest, when you're angry, you imagine you're frustrated and somebody coming at you with some real high energy that you don't appreciate. Immediately, what you want to do, react. All right. So you're not thinking about, oh, let me see, how can I regulate myself to deal with this? No, you're not thinking about that. These are some skills that I had to learn throughout the years, how to regulate my emotions so that I would be able to conduct myself in a certain way, right? And what Dr. Coleman speaks about, he says there are 4 things that you could do. There's something called the emotional audit, or and you could pause, breathe, and the pausing and the breathing, that's the easiest too. And people say it's too good to be true. All right. I don't believe if I pause, that's going to help me with my emotions. But yes, and I'll tell you how. And the last one is we have pause, we have breathe, journaling. All right. You could do journaling. So the emotional audit, that's simply throughout the day, you could stop and check and see what emotions going through my body right now or even earlier. Why did I react the way that I did? I answered the phone. She was coming at me. I should not have spoken to that person the way I did. I should have been more professional. Or as Michelle Obama, I should have taken the high road, but I did not. Why? So keep checking on your emotions. And this is important because research has shown that we go through many different types of emotions during the day or during the seconds and hours, and we're not even aware of it. You might be angry right now, or you're frustrated. You could be worried. You could be sad. You could feel overwhelmed, rejected, dejected, and it go on, and you're not aware of it until you probably have a trigger, right? So what the emotional audit does, it helps you to keep track of your emotions every 2 hours, 3 hours until you master it and you don't have to do this checkup from the neck up, as I like to say. And then we go into the pause. Sometimes people really get you mad, but you become so emotionally mature that instead of blurting out something and reacting and then having to regret it after, you pause. I practice pauses a lot, all right? You pause, and there is some neuroscience to back up the pause and why it works. So when you pause, there's a certain part of your brain, the emotional part of your brain, the amygdala, responsible for fight, flight, or fright. If you get scared or so on, your heart starts racing, you're ready to run or you're ready to fight, right? That part of your brain reacts and it's activated. When you pause, it gives that part of your brain enough time to simmer down. And now, instead of that part being activated, you have a quick shift into the rational part of your brain, which is called the prefrontal cortex. And that is responsible for your logical thinking, executive decisions, and so forth, right? So a quick shift and you calm down. Also, it's also proven that an emotion stays with you for 30 seconds. It will stay longer if you feed it. So, sometimes something happened to your colleague or friend and they're going on and on and on. And you like, she's still talking about that happened an hour ago because she's holding on to the emotions and feeding into it. But if you pause and you let it go, right? Like I did with a guy, he was honking me and I decided leave him alone, focus, drive out the road when it's safe to do so. Let that go. So that's how the pause work. What I like to do with the pause also, sometimes I either just fold my hands, not a defensive, like if you want to fight, just gently fold my arms, all right? And I either smile or I fold my lips. And in my mind, I'm saying, do like Michelle Obama. When they go low, you go high. Or sometimes I might say, Carla, know when to speak up and when to shut up. Leave it alone. It's not that serious. So you could come up with whatever will work for you, all right, when you have that pause so that you will respond and not react and have to regret it later on. So let's look at the other one, breathing. Yes, breathe. When I so mad, I hyperventilated. I have no time to slow down and try to breathe. No. But let me tell you, try it. It works, right? So when you breathe, again, there is neuroscience to back it up. There's a area, your sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for your heart rate and breathing and all of that. When you slow it down by breathing slowly, and exhaling through the mouth slowly, it gives you time to simmer down. All right. So when you're angry or when you're frustrated and the different emotions coming at you, you could start to breathe slowly, contain and collect your emotions. And then the last one is journaling. Some people like to write, all right? They write it out. Why am I feeling this way? What could I have done differently? How can I do X, Y, and Z? You write it down, look at it, promise, and I am going to do just what I write down. And then you tear it up or you have your own book, if that works, right? So the other one, which is to me the most challenging area, is relationship management. All right. Controlling your emotions in relationships. And why I say it's the most challenging one, because many times we interact with people from all different walks of life, different backgrounds, cultures, belief, and sometimes we could have misunderstanding, disagreements, and conflict, all because maybe different cultures or whatever it is. So, how do you manage your emotions when you have to navigate different relationships with people? And that's where pillar number one and pillar number two, you have to use those frequently. You have to know when to pause, when to speak up, if I should breathe now. Should I be self aware? All of these things will help you in relationship management. And you will realize leaders that have very high emotional intelligence, you see the difference in their colleagues and how their subordinates relate to them. They love their bosses. They don't leave. They have high retention at the workplace. They have more teamwork, more engagement. Why? Because the leader understands how to manage his emotions and the emotions of others around him. He knows how to empathize and why it is important to put yourself in another person's situation. He could relate to his employees. He genuinely cares about his emotions of his employees, and he wants to make sure that they're comfortable, and he could help in whatever way he can. He listens attentively. All of these combination of skills help and are very present in people that have learned to master their emotional intelligence, right? And then we go right into the other one, social awareness. Now, I think once you start understanding your emotions, it's very easy for you to connect with other people's emotion and to understand their emotions as well. And that's where the social awareness comes in. So sometimes, let's say, you walk into a room, might be a conference or a meeting or whatever it is, party, whatever. And from the time you walk into the room, it's almost like you could tell what vibes and what energy. You could scan the room, see who upset, see who happy, who look worried, who anxious, because it's like your emotional antenna has been turned on and you're connecting with the people. But that comes with practice, it comes with self-awareness, it comes with you being able to navigate and challenges and even your own emotions. It comes with practicing all of these when you put them together. And for me, I am still on the journey because there are times when I will encounter different situations and I really, really have to do some emotional audits. But I see over the years, I've really gotten better at it. And what you would realize once you start to improve in your emotional intelligence, you would see how people start recognizing it and they start treating you differently with more respect. They would come to you if they have a decision to make or if something is happening. They would scan whoever, but they would find you because what? They trust your emotional intelligence. All right. So they would see the difference. And over time, as you grow and you master it, you realize there would be less conflict in your life. You would find that at the workplace, you have more favorable relationships at work with your friends, with family, and so on. So there are so many benefits to you mastering your emotional intelligence. It has a rippling effect. So what I want you to do for me is use this information to help you transform your emotions. That's one. And then the other thing is I want you to share it with a friend, family, or anybody who you think could benefit from what I shared with you, right? Continue to like my video, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, and please look at the other videos that I have.